Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Balaba Girivaradari. Jaya Gopi Jana Balaba Girivaradari. Ayashura Nandana Prajajana Ranjana. Yashoda Nandana Prajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Havana Chari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Girivaradari. Oh Yashoda Nandana Prajajana Ranjana. Yashoda Nandana Prajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada. Gaura Gaura Premanandi Hari Hari Bo. Om Gyana Timananda Gadanjana Sharakaya Chakshunu Militam Gena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I offer my obeisance to my spiritual master who opened my darkened eyes, filled my heart with transcendental knowledge. Hare Krishna. Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Svayam Rupakaramayam Daranti Samparantikam. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shiva Shri Gaura Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, dear devotees, I have given the honor, after I consulted with my dear Shiksha Guru, Prabhupada Priya. She gave me verses to finish this chapter 22 to 62. So on her good counsel, I'm going to just summarize some of the chapters, and then we will ask the devotees from 53 to 62 to chant those verses. So I'm just going to highlight this a little bit. I'm going to have a little background. As you know, Kardama Muni was a great sage. He was exalted, full of wisdom, and actually was a part of the creation. As you know, Mother Aditi, she gave birth to the Devas. Vamana Deva being one of them. There was a long line of several Devas that she gave birth to. And then his wife, Diti, who did she give birth to? She gave birth to some demons. The first big demons were Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. How many saw that film with those pastimes, right? So, at an inauspicious time, right, she, bothered her husband, and as a result of that inauspicious time, she gave birth to Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. And then what happened with Hiranyaksha? Yes, he was killed by who? Lord Varahadev. And so just a little side note, my dearest friend and exalted devotee, Chitsukananda, who is a disciple, naturally, of Srila Prabhupada, who opened up Mexico. Prabhupada went there and preached. And he was just here, and he travels with his Varaha deity. And so he gave me a bottle of beautiful water that he had offered to Varahadev. So that was a very special thing. So at any rate, I'm just going to highlight some of these verses, if I may. Let me just pull out my glasses. I don't know if I need them, but we'll do that anyways, huh? Just to make sure I can see properly. So it starts off with the first verse, Srimad Bhagavatam text 762, and in this verse, one of the things that struck my heart, of course, as you know, this is the pastime a little bit to just repeat. Kashyapa Muni was steeped in meditation, and Aditi was totally stressed. She was in anxiety. Why was that? Because her sons had been sort of cast out from the heaven, and the Devas had come to occupy that post. So she was in great anxiety. So Kachapa Muni, he comes and out of meditation and says, what is the problem? He asks her questions, have you following the regulative principles, and so many questions he puts forth. And then when she explains the situation, what does he say? He says that you are materially attached. And he begins then to preach to her. She accepts him as his spiritual master, his guru, and he begins to preach. One of the first texts, it says, with her desires, man proposes and God disposes. We've heard this before. So, the comment is people have so many desires, and unless they're fulfilled by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there's no hope. Because if we think that we can have our desires filled by our own mind and merit, we are in a major illusion. So then as it continues, it's described that, the fulfillment of desires, it's called Satyasankalpa. So these desires must be, no matter what. It states in the Bhagavad Gita, right? Whatever if you're distressed, if you're a desire of wealth, this is 7:16. If you are searching for the absolute truth, if you're inquisitive. So what was Aditi's position? Where does she fall in this? She was distressed. She was distressed. So she took shelter of he advised her, you have to take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And who else was told that in our scriptures, to take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Dhruva Maharaj? Anyone else? So we understand this, and our spiritual masters have told us this time after time. Prabhupada has delineated that many, many times. So also in the purport, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is said that the Guru is a manifestation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So therefore, it's described that we worship the spiritual master as good as God. He is not God, but because he is a pure devotee, expert, he repeats the message of his spiritual master in the line of disciplic succession. And therefore, we offer our obeisances not just to our beloved spiritual master and to Srila Prabhupada, our beloved Divine Srila Prabhupada, who came here and gave us everything, but also we offer obeisances to the complete parampara, starting from Krishna himself, and beg for their mercy to help us on the path of our devotional service, of our bhakti. We know this verse. It's stated that mantras, which is the Hare Krishna mantra, which was gifted to us, they have a special power, but only if they're given by a bona fide spiritual master. If we approach, and many people have approached, we know many gurus and spiritual masters, bogus gurus, that have said that they can manifest gold in their hands, and they have said, actually my sister-in-law, Marines, went to see Mukundananda, I think years ago in India. She traveled. And her conclusion after going there was that he was a cheater. So anyway, so then, there are many things that Kashyapa Muni mentions as far as regulative principles to approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One he talks about Payavrata, right? This is drinking milk on Dwadasi, many fastings. Prabhupada comments that in our tradition, in our age, we follow Ekadasi. That's our vrat. That's one of our vrats, that we abstain from grains of any kind. and many devotees. In the day, we used to fast. My Guru Maharaj would fast all day and all night, and sometimes we'd go up there and do that when we were young and strong. Now I'm old, but we would do that, and it was an amazing time, very purifying. So anyway, then of course I mentioned that he prays to Varahadev, and we talked about that with the film that everyone saw that was so spectacular, really. I understand it's going into AMC, by the way, so if anyone missed it, you might be able to catch it there. And then, we understand that the spiritual master from the many verses we chant is as good as the Supreme Lord, and that without the blessings of the spiritual master, we can't approach Krishna. And by the grace of Krishna, we get the spiritual master. Then from in many verses, he continues to glorify and pay obeisances to all the great souls, all the, from Lord Brahma, Shiva, Indra, to all the devas that worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He pays his humble obeisances to all of these great devotees that are in our line, these great, the Lord Brahma, who he says is in charge of creating all the living entities. So he continues to, in text 1655, he talks about following the instructions of learned acharyas and satisfying them by distributing prasadam. This is in 55, I'm sorry. And there is a little purport by Prabhupada explaining that that there's no discrimination in distributing prasadam, right? We can give to everyone and anyone, not just Brahmins and Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Sudras, even the lowest of the low, which, I see these wonderful devotees like Shyam Keshava's parents are here, Tulsi Saki's parents are here. These devotees, in my mind, eyes, are so blessed because they are coming from a lineage of a family of devotees from who knows when, their parents and then their grandparents and their grandparents. I wasn't so fortunate. But I was brought up in a family, a pious Italian family, so we would go to church all the time. And my mother would sew Easter coats for us and bonnets. And we would go to Mass all the time. I took my first Holy Communion and my confirmation. I tell my husband with my hands folded, just see, I was all dressed in white. I was a little devotee, aspiring devotee, even at my first Holy Communion. But somehow or another, the answers, I couldn't get the answers that I wanted when I remember asking the nuns, why is it that someone is born extremely wealthy, someone is born to suffer starvation, and there were no answers given. It was simply that, we can't understand the way of God. So in the very early years, I was traveling. I went one way, my husband went another. I got a Bhagavad Gita, he got the Happening album. And so I remember first opening up that Bhagavad Gita, and I thought, wow, this is a lot to swallow. I couldn't quite grasp it. And then one day, a devotee knocked on our door, although we didn't know he was a devotee, and he was selling. He had a big roll of paintings under his arm. We were living in North Dallas. And he rolled those out, and I thought these were the worst things I'd ever seen in my life. We had a company called International Expressions. We were bringing art from all over the world. And I thought, oh, these won't do at all. But then he rolled out a bunch of silk Peshwa paintings with Radha and Krishna, many. And they just really struck my heart. And I started selling those to designers and so forth, putting in our galleries. So Krishna, I guess that's the first time Krishna knocked on our door. And after some time with this devotee, he had a wig on and he had a cap on. And he pulled that off one day and he said, okay, I might as well just tell you, I'm a devotee of Krishna. So it was an amazing venture. We taught us how to eat, how to eat properly, how to chant properly. At that time, I was pretty much a vegetarian, but my husband was not. So and I was not completely either at that point. Although at 16, I was a vegetarian, but we gave everything to the neighbors. And he started chanting, and ultimately, he did all this work that you're sitting on. He did all this upholstery work in the day, and introduced me and my husband to our eternal spiritual master, so I'm very indebted to that. So there's talk here about the importance of the spiritual master, and the importance of distributing prasadam. And so I remember my spiritual master told my husband that in this age there isn't an abundance of wealth, so the most important thing is to distribute prasadam. And he gave us that instruction several times, and so we opened up different prasadam restaurants and served thousands of people Krishna prasadam. It was ecstatic. So I think if the devotees would like to start to read from text 53, let me pull that up also. You have that up there? Okay. Vishnu, would you like to chant?
One should satisfy the spiritual master Acharya, who is very learned in Vedic literature, and should satisfy his assistant priest known as Hota, Udgata, Advaryu and Brahma. One should please them by offering them clothing, ornaments and cows. This is the ceremony called Vishnu Aradhana, or worship of Lord Vishnu.
Turn this a little.
O most auspicious lady, thank you, Prabhu. O most auspicious lady, one should perform all the ceremonies under the direction of learned acharyas and should satisfy them and their priests. By distributing prasad, one should also satisfy the brahmanas and others who have assembled.
One should satisfy the spiritual master and assistant priests by giving them clothes, ornaments, cows, and also some monetary contribution. And by distributing prasad, one should satisfy everyone assembled, including even the lowest of men, the chandals, eaters of dog flesh.
One should distribute Vishnu's prasad to everyone, including the poor man and the blind man, the non-devotee and the non-brahmana, knowing that Lord Vishnu is very pleased when everyone is sumptuously fed with Vishnu prasad. The form of yagna should then take prasad with his friends and relatives.
Jai, prasadam distribution ki jai.
Every day from Pratapat to Trayadashi, one should continue the ceremony to the accompaniment of dancing, singing, the beating of a drum, the chanting of prayers and all auspicious mantras, and recitation of Srimad Bhagavatam. In this way, one should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
This is the religious, ritualistic ceremony known as Payovrata, by which one may worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I received this inspiration from Brahma, my grandfather, and now I have described it to you in details.
O most fortunate lady, establishing your mind in a good spirit, execute this process of Payovrata and thus worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Keshava, who is inexhaustible.
The Payovrata is also known as Sarva Yagna. In other words, by performing this sacrifice, one can perform all other sacrifices automatically. This is also acknowledged to be the best of all ritualistic ceremonies. O gentle lady, it is the essence of all austerities, and it is the process of giving charity and pleasing the Supreme Controller.
62, this is the last verse.
Text 61. This is the best process for pleasing the transcendental Supreme Personality of Godhead, known as the Dokshija. It is the best of all regulative principles, the best austerity, the best process of giving charity, and the best process of sacrifice.
Therefore, my dear gentle lady, follow this ritualistic vow, strictly observing the regulative principles. By this process, the Supreme Person will very soon be pleased with you and will satisfy all your desires.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, dear devotees. I'm so enlivened to hear everybody chanting. It's so nice. Children especially, really beautiful. So, text 60 is the verse that I'm to chant today. So I'm going to chant the Sanskrit the best I can. Bear with me. This is text 60. Ayam vaisavayagya kaha savavritamitasmitam tapasharaidam badre danya sheshvara tapanam. Ayam vaisavayagyara savavritamitam smitam tapasharamidam badre dhanam sheshvatapanam. Aham vaisavayaka savavritamitam smitam tapasharamidam badre dhanna keshavatapanam. Devotees like to chant. Gyakya Savavritiyadismatam Tapasaranidam Badre Dhamacheshvaratapanam. Aram Vaisavayagyaka Samritamita Smitam Sapataramidam Badre Dhamacheshvara Dapanam. Ayam Vaisavayakya Savavritamitismitam Tapasharanidam Badre Dhamacheshvaradapanam. Aram Savavajakyata Savavritamitismitam Tapasaramidam badre Ramacheshwaradapanam. Okay, word for word, we can all chant it together if you'd like. I am this, by indeed, Sarvayagna, all kinds of religious rituals and sacrifices. Akya, called. Sarvavritam, all religious ceremonies. Iti, thus. Smritam, understood. Tapasharan, the essence of all austerities. Idam, this. Vajre, O good lady. Tayam, acts of charity. Cha, and. Ishvara, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Tapanam, the process of pleasing. So, translation by His Divine Grace. Srila Prabhupada. The Priyavrata, this Priyavrata is also known as Sarvajnana Yagya. In other words, by performing this sacrifice, one can perform all other sacrifices automatically. This is also acknowledged in the best of all ritualistic ceremonies. O gentle lady, it is the essence of all austerities and is the process of giving charity and pleasing the Supreme Controller. Purport. Prabhupada Ki Jai. Radhanam Savasham Vishnur Anaradam Param. This is the statement made by Lord Shiva to Parvati. Worshipping Lord Vishnu is the supreme process of worship. And how Lord Vishnu is worshipped in this Payovrata ceremony has been fully described. The ultimate goal of life is to please the Lord Vishnu by Varnashram Dharma. The principles of the four ashrams, the four Varnas and the four ashrams are meant to worship Vishnu. Vishnu arade partha nayat tadosha karanam. The Krishna consciousness movement is also Vishnu anaradam, the worship of Vishnu according to the age. The Payovrata method of Vishnu Aradhanam was enunciated long, long ago by Kashyapa Muni to his wife, Aditi, in the heavenly planets. And the same process is bona fide here on earth even now, especially in the age of Kali. The process of accepting Krishna consciousness movement is open to hundreds and thousands of Vishnu temples, temples of Radha Krishna, Jagannath Baladev, Sita Ram, Gaurnitai, and so on. Shri Shri Radha Kalachandji Ki Jai. Performing prescribed worship in such temples of Vishnu and thus worshiping the Lord is as good as performing the 5 Vrata ceremony. Recommended here. The Payovrata ceremony is performed on the 1st to the 13th day of the bright fortnight of the moon. But in Krishna consciousness movement, Lord Vishnu is worshipped in every temple according to the schedule of 24 hours of engagement and performing kirtan, chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, offering palatable foods to the Lord and distributing this food to Vaishnavas and others. These are the authorized activities these are the authorized activities, and if the members of the Krishna consciousness movement stick to these principles, they will achieve the same result. One grains by offering the same result. One grains by offering the Payovrata ceremony. This is the essence of all auspicious activities, such as performing yajna, giving in charity, observing the vratas, and undergoing austerities is included in the Krishna consciousness movement. The members of this movement should immediately and sincerely follow the process already mentioned. And of course, yajantihi sumed dasya. In Kali Yuga, those who are intelligent, perform the Sankirtan Yajna, and one should follow this process conscientiously. So, a couple of things. When when Kashyapa Muni was assuming the spiritual master, his wife accepted help, to direct me. He glorified, as I mentioned, all the exalted personalities, just as we do. We offer obeisances to Srila Prabhupada, to our spiritual master, but also to the entire parampara. We offer our humble obeisances. So in this purport, Prabhupada, it's described that the spiritual master teaches according to time, place, and circumstance. And so when Kashyapa Muni was speaking to Aditi, this was millions of years ago in Satya Yuga. So he was delineating many processes of the ritualistic ceremonies and processes. But we follow some processes given by our spiritual master. And what are they? Chan, be happy. Follow the regulative principles of freedom, it's called, right? The regulations of freedom. So Prabhupada was very expert in doing this. He preached according to time, place, and circumstance, and even he was criticized by some of his godbrothers. Why are you giving, Brahmin initiation to women? Why are you, these are, malechas like that. And Prabhupada understood the nature when he came to the West. It was hippies and vagabonds, people addicted to so many intoxication and illicit sex, and people running around Haight-Ashbury in the day. It was an amazing time, but it was an amazing time because all of those people, what were they doing? They were rejecting all the material things that their parents had embraced. And so who did that? Prahlad Maharaj, didn't he? He rejected everything that his father wanted from him to be the most wealthy, the most of everything, and follow in his father's footsteps, who was a demon. Why are the demons? What is the position? They're very learned. They can quote Shastra. They're very exalted. But what is the difference between the devas and the demigods? Anybody have a comment? Yes. Yes. They're envious. They don't accept Vishnu. Just like in the first of Jai and Vijay, I think it was in Satya Yuga, right? That's when Haranya and Haranyakashipu. So were they envious of the Lord? They were not accepting Krishna somehow. They took birth, they chose, didn't they? They chose to take birth, 3 births as demons, so they could quickly go back to be with the Lord as his gatekeepers, to be back to the Lord, right? And then who was next? Anyone remember who was the next? That's right. That was in Treta Yuga. That was Ravana and Kupakarna. And the next? Yeah, Shishupal. And what happened with Shishupal? Yes, Krishna promised his mother he can create 100 offenses, and I will not, I'll not vanquish him. But then in the Rajasuya sacrifice, not only did he blaspheme Krishna, but blaspheme so many of the devotees. So Krishna took his Shuddhashan chakra, right? And Danvatarka, do you remember what happened with him? Yes, that's right. And he also tried to invade Dwarka. Krishna said, okay, you're done now. He was actually Krishna's cousin, but he was very envious from birth from Krishna. So these are transcendental pastimes, and we learn all of these things by reading Srila Prabhupada's books. he gave us a treasure house of his books to, to give us this knowledge. Without my spiritual master, I never would have known Srila Prabhupada. Truly, he introduced me to Srila Prabhupada. There was not, while I was in the presence of my Guru, there was not a second that he was not completely absorbed in service. Not 1 second. It was just quite amazing. So, you know, I don't know about any of you, but I'm a long way off. I'm a long way off. But I can pray and listen and hear. So that is to me, that's the most important thing, is to hear the transcendental message coming down. And so yesterday, you know, we often watch His Holiness Indradumna Swami, who, you know, preaches just quite amazingly about very amazing pastimes of Krishna. And to me, you know, you have to just fill your consciousness as much as you can with stories about Krishna, messages about Krishna, videos about Krishna, of exalted devotees speaking about Krishna. And the other thing, and if you've not watched, it's the memory series. Siddhanta Prabhu, who was once with, anyway, Siddhanta Prabhu is a beautiful devotee of Srila Prabhupada, and he had put these memory series together, and they talk about all the disciples of Srila Prabhupada speak over and over, from Hridayananda Maharaj to Jayapataka Maharaj to Govinda Dasi, so many, speaking about the amazing intimate pastimes they had with Srila Prabhupada, distributing prasadam to, countless people. I remember in the early years when I was young and strong, we went to, it was inaugurated by Jayapataka Maharaj, where Advaitacharya's house, when they distributed so much prasadam. So we ran around and put big leaf plates, thousands of them, and they were cooking prasadam in these huge vats, And then we went around and put these on plates, and literally thousands and tens of thousands of people came from villages to honor prasadam. So I guess Prabhupada said that was our secret weapon, right? I remember when, who was it now, that came to visit the temple, Bhaktivedanta Manor, is it, that George Harrison gave, and his parents came to visit. Who was it? I don't know if it was Giriraj or Marsh, someone, and he wanted to give them prasadam, but the devotee said the prasadam was all served. So he showed them the deities, he walked them around the property, and Prabhupada asked him, did they get prasadam? And he said, no, Prabhupada, there wasn't any. He said, then it was useless. Really. So he really stressed the vital importance of prasadam, our secret weapon, right? And so here we have our Radhakala Chanji restaurant that's been going on for, I don't know what, 40, 45 years, distributing prasadam, and then they expanded to the university programs, and they're distributing pizza prasadam. That was Gunagrai Maharaj's favorite. I remember we would make lots of pizza prasadam for him. So this is vital, prasadam distribution, and hearing the holy name. The final purport, the final class, the final verse in this translation is important. Prabhupada's putting the emphasis that this this Priyavrata ceremony of just fasting on milk, we don't follow that. What do we follow? We follow Ekadasi. Prabhupada gave us. We fast. We follow fasting on sacred days like Janmashtami, Balaram Day, Appearance Day. We fast. We chant more rounds. We do more seva, like that. So, and the process of Sankirtan is manyfold. I mean, we can go out and we can chant in the streets. We can distribute books and connect with people personally, find out about them, ask the questions, and then share something with them. And not to be timid to ask for a donation even. So in speaking with Prabhupada Priya, she spent her, how many years? 17 years or more distributing books? Yes, many, many years. And there are many devotees around our movement. Our Indra Nilamani, who now, that house across the street is Krishna House. In the day, she was the largest book distributor in the world. Yeah, very special. And then she had 2 children. First, Shamali, and I don't know how many you were upstairs listening to Chandravali. How many were there listening to her? How she was going out on books and wasn't all that a huge book distributor, but she was sincerely going out and ultimately cared for, her service was to care for Shamali. And she sang all those songs to Shamali. Many songs, many beautiful Krishna songs she sang. So this is it's so glorious to hear from the devotees, to hear about their pastimes, their contributions. We become purified in hearing about these things. And so many things are covered here. Prasadam distribution, the vitality, deity worship is also very emphasized in these commentaries and purports. And I remember being in Laguna Beach with Bharat Hari and Kosharupa when they took over that temple, and we had a Govindas there. And we used to, I used to help set up and help with the cooking and set up the buffet in those days, or in the 80s. And then we'd go on Harinam by the beach, chant and distribute books. Then at some point we moved into Puerto Rico, and I was very blessed to be able to dress Shri Shri Gauranatai. Sometimes I get the mercy to dress Krishna Balaram, who stands right in the center altar there. And once in a while I get to dress Radhe Shyam, but my main service was Gauranatai. Yeah, and so this, my prayer is, Krishna, please remember what little I've done. There's that prayer, I feel I'm very fallen, and I've got a long way to go, but I do pray to Krishna, please, please remember what little bit I've done, and help me in my progressive path to serve you. So I'm going to end here. There was a lot to cover, but if there are any contributions or comments, I would be grateful to hear any comments. If anyone has anything to say, corrections. Haribol.
Hare Krishna, Mother Nandini.
Hi, Chelsea Saki.
Thank you for a very nice class, and thank you for coming to give classes after such a hurricane of health crisis. So it almost feels like in Krishna's service, it's just like, back to, no matter how the body is, whatever it's going through, once we are serving, it's eternal.
It is eternal.
By your example and practice, you are showing no matter what, we can always come back to Krishna's service and to the association of devotees. So that is so nice to see on the Vyasasana. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
And I was also appreciating how you brought the points out that, when I'm reading this, I'm like, okay, this Payovrata seems really exciting. What is this? Okay, milk, okay, all these details. But then again, you brought the point back that, our process is complete in itself.
Complete.
And we don't need to chase this other process or that other process, knowing that all processes have been contained and Prabhupada has given us everything we need in our process. So
That's
thank
right.
you. Thank you.
He boiled the milk.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you
Krishna.
so much. Yeah, I was thinking also in relation to what Tulsi Saki was saying, that, about how you went through an ordeal, but you're here speaking Srimad Bhagavatam. And it just shows how, Krishna is so glorious, Krishna is so merciful. And if we just stick to the process, everything comes out good. And that's what's happening here in this pastime, is that, Aditi, she's in this very difficult ordeal that she's a mother and her children are in intense, distress and crisis. They're being attacked by the demons. They're getting pushed out of their positions by these horrible demons. And that's the worst thing for a mother. It's one thing for, a woman to suffer personally, but the worst thing is to see that her children suffering.
Absolutely.
And feeling totally helpless, like you can't do anything about it. So this is the worst thing for her. And then, she could be thinking, and her husband also, Kashyapa, was enlightened because, they weren't like, okay, we need to, get some powerful people, we need to get some weapons, we need to whatever, do some material thing, some black magic or whatever. They're like, no, we need to step up our bhakti. We need to really start seriously worshiping the Lord and doing sadhana and practicing Krishna consciousness. So that's not that we don't do other things, but our main solution to all problems is Krishna consciousness. That's what he's showing here. So he gave her this whole process, which is basically a process of devotional service.
It is.
And then, by doing it, you see how everything changed. Her consciousness changed, her perspective changed, situation changed. Krishna just, zoop.
Yes.
When he's happy, then
Master
he
of all
just
mystics.
puts everything into place perfectly. So yeah, we just always have to remember that all these things that she did, they're included in Krishna in our process, like chanting 16 rounds, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, coming and seeing Radhikala Chanji, offering some prayers, doing kirtan for them, and like that, taking prasadam, distributing prasadam. We just do these things, then everything's going to be all right. And even if materially it doesn't seem that it turned out all right, it's still all right because Krishna's there.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Yes, there was a class I heard the other day, I believe it was Rupanuga that was giving class talking about all the calamities that are happening around the world. And I was reading about, Stalin, how he, many, many years ago, how he basically enforced famine on millions of people died. He took all the grains from Ukraine. So to see this in the light of our Shastra and Krishna consciousness, we can understand that this, and I've personally experienced that in my life, that that this is the material world. It's a place that we don't belong, and there's suffering at every step. There's some goodness too, and there's some happiness. Otherwise, we couldn't be here. It was total suffering. We could not stand it. So we have to have that balance, but to understand that all of these calamities happen in our planet, not to deny God, right? Not to say no. Cursing the Lord, but actually seeing that everything happens by the hand of the Lord, and that it's not that we don't feel compassion when we see people suffer. The devotees are very compassionate, just like a mother is compassionate for her children. and so she can, just like you said, she can take all troubles upon herself, but when her children are in anxiety, she's totally in anxiety. And I have felt that with our sons. I have felt that with our children. And so what to do as a mother, what I have done is just try to give Krishna consciousness to my children and my grandchildren the best I can. And sometimes my son Keshava will send me a message and he'll put a little, what do you call it, a little sticker, a little something of Srila Prabhupada. So it's you know, these little acts, they count. They count. You know, he had his grain ceremony in Topanga Canyon, and there were silver coins on one side and a Bhagavad Gita on the other, and hundreds of people. There was a big jug in a Sringananda, and he went right for the book, and there was a roar. So everyone roared and thought this is wonderful. Yeah, that's all a mother can do. Just like Dhruva Maharaj's mother said, you're in anxiety, you're feeling, discarded by your father and disgraced, and you're angry, and what to do? You just have to take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so that's our solution. That's all we can give our children also. And I think that's what ultimately, as challenging as it was for her, she took instruction from the Guru, her husband, and that's what we've all done. Try to take the instruction from the spiritual master and try and act on that instruction the best we can, and live that instruction the best we can. So, comments? Okay. Srila Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada and Srila Gurudeva ki jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Vancha kalpatrivacha, kripa sindhivyevacha, patijanam pavanevyo, vaishnavebhyo, namo namaha. Hare Bo.